Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you to everyone who joined us this afternoon for our Marketing for Something Greater workshop. We are very, very excited to have this. This workshop is one of two events we'll be hosting for this week's Marketing for Something Greater campaign. And throughout the week, our marketing club is creating events and campaigns dedicated to social justice, advocacy, and philanthropy.
With the current state of our country and constant need to give back, educate, and spread awareness, we are bringing professionals in from the nonprofit sector to discuss opportunities and how to get involved. We just want to give a huge thank you to everyone who has participated in our Don's Helping Don's campaign yesterday. Our marketing club members have donated to the ASPCA, SPRC, Nusined, and RAIN. It's not too late to still donate. So if you do, please make sure to email or Instagram DM us.
Before we introduce our guest speaker, I want to remind you all that we have a social advocacy social media campaign tomorrow where you will apply the techniques you learned in today's workshop. We will also have our social advocacy workshop starting at 6:30 p.m. on Thursday. If you have yet to register, please use the link I will share in the Zoom chat to register.
And lastly, we have our marketing club member spotlight on Friday. So if you or another marketing club member you know have been advocating or volunteering, please email or DM us and we'll be sure to spotlight them. And now I'm going to pass the torch to Liana to introduce our guest speaker. So thank you so much to Jordan for taking the time to prepare to speak to our members. We really appreciate it and are very excited to have you. So thank you.
Great. All right. I'm very excited to present Jordan. Jordan Vaughter is leaving his role at Jewish Family and Children's Services this week and will be moving to New Jersey. In his year and a half working as the Youth First program coordinator in Marin, he brought his passion for social justice and racial equity to the teens he worked with. Jordan has been a longtime social justice warrior, attending women's marches and Black Lives Matter protests up and down the state of California. Having grown up in Orange County, he saw racial inequity happening all around him and noticed the adverse effects it can have on children and teens. It was at this point he knew he wanted to be an advocate for change. Everyone, please welcome Jordan.
Hi, everyone. It's so great to be here. Liana, thank you so much for inviting me to come and speak at the USF Marketing Club. Like Liana said, I've been working with children and teens for many, many years in various roles, and I'm very excited that in the many different aspects, I've been able to bring this idea of social justice and help teens kind of view this as a focus of the work that they're doing. I've been working with Liana in the last about year and a half or so. Liana was an intern at JFCS, and through her time there, Liana worked closely on many different projects and through excited to do this. Start off with this idea of social advocacy. I'd love for us to kind of just take a quick little understanding what this means. So Leon, if you can go to the next slide, that would be excellent. Excellent. So advocacy literally means to call out for support. Meaning the aspect of speaking on behalf of or support of another person, place, or thing. And we'll learn a little bit more about what this looks like in a bit. And to be an advocate is a person who represents another person's interests and publicly supports or recommends a particular cause or policy. Being an advocate is such a strong thing and a very prevalent thing, especially in and around San Francisco. There are many things to be advocates for, and We're going to take a little bit of a look into different ways of doing advocacy or being an advocate. And towards the end of this presentation, we'll actually have a chance to do a little bit of an advocacy project, similar to what I've been doing with the teens that I've been working with. Excellent. Next slide. Policy, I'm sure, is something that all of you have heard. It's such a big and important thing. And it's the way of going about it. Policy is the way in which government or organizations address the needs of citizens or community. And it's done through actions, programs, regulations, or laws. JFCS, we do a lot of public policy through many different aspects of our organization, anywhere from helping people experiencing homelessness to helping get laws passed in the city of San Francisco. With the teens specifically, homelessness has been such a big thing. We more focus on the actions and programs of public policy rather than the regulations and laws while working with the teens. Great. So what advocacy can look like? We can do this in one of many different ways. Connecting with public officials, this can be done through targeted letters, public comments. Petitions are such a big thing. There are so many websites out there now where you can just sign petitions that you feel really compelled towards. Participating in marches and protests. Obviously, we saw a lot of these going on through the summer all around the country with the Black Lives Matter movement. Something I'm sure many of us feel very strongly about. Media campaigns are such a great way to bring awareness into all of this as well. And then, of course, by supporting or boycotting businesses and organizations. It's a very direct way that we can show what and how we support people and the causes that these organizations and businesses, if we're able to back them is such an important thing. So just we're going to take a little bit of a look into these different ideas. So Leona, you can go to the next slide. So we're going to kind of take a little bit of a look, or I'm going to explain a little bit about how each of these are being practiced, through the summer to right now. So communicating with officials, artists, managers, executives, and more are calling for New York State to repeal a statute 50A, a law that should police personnel and disciplinary records from public view. Right now, especially right now, after everything that happened this summer, the citizens are wanting to see police cameras, wanting to see up close what's happening. And this law, or the statute rather, was going to be able to keep those confidential, and people want to know what they are. So people were making, were calling and making cuts to their or communicating to their public officials. Great. Next one. Public comments, are such a big thing, especially in smaller communities where, for town hall meetings. In just a moment, we're going to see a little clip from Parks and Recreation, one of my all-time favorite shows. They just did, Leona, you can pull it up on the next slide, but they just do such a great job of showing what a town hall can look like, even though they take such an extreme of silliness. But Leona, you can go ahead and play this clip.
What I hear when I'm being yelled at is people caring loudly at me.
Now, I have a few things I want to say about Laura Linney.
There is a disturbing lack of benches in Ramsey Park. I want to sit more.
I found a sandwich in one of your parks, and I want to know why it didn't have mayonnaise. What's so funny?
Oh. What are you, some kind of moron? Why don't you have hand dryers in the park bathrooms? They're so much more sanitary than paper towels. Anyone knows that.
Ham and mayonnaise.
No.
Ham and mayonnaise.
No.
Ham and mayonnaise. Except for turnip. Except for turnip.
My daughter's 5.
Well, your daughter is an idiot. Her daughter is an idiot. Her daughter is an idiot.
Oh.
Her daughter is an idiot.
No, she's not.
Government shut down. Who's going to stop Al-Qaeda?
But isn't all food bad for you? I've been eating lasagna and muffins every day of my life for 40 years, and I feel terrible.
How do you like it? Huh?
No.
How do you like that?
Now imagine you're holding coffee.
It says do not drink the sprinkler water, so I made sun tea with it, and now I have an infection. Sir? Sir, are you listening to me, sir? Sir, I'm talking to you. Sir, are you aware that there is waste in your water supply?
Oh, you promised!
You promised? That's not fair.
Oh, wait, it's not a question of fairness. It's separation.
Go back to Russia, Commie.
Hey, you go back to Russia! And you go back to wherever you came from!
What's next? Income?
Sir, you don't pay your income tax?
Whether or not I pay income tax is none of the government's business.
No. Well, no, actually it is.
Well, you don't know my name or what I look like, so good luck finding me.
How do we know you're really a nurse?
Why don't we just set fire to the fence, you know? Set it ablaze?
That's arson.
Well, let's leave that up to the lawyers. The point is, it would work.
This that's happening here is not allowed.
All right. Well, that got pretty relevant right now. But these people in Pawnee obviously have are speaking up about things that they are passionate about. And oftentimes at the town hall meetings, it's a place for people to come and voice their concerns. A really great for people to let their local governments know what they find to be important. Great. Then we can go to the next one. Targeted letters. Targeted letters are such a big thing that we can do to our senators and representatives. Back with this 50A that we talked about earlier, many big names, Rihanna, Ariana Grande, and hundreds of people in the music industry signed open letters, urging the New York police, urging police reform. And kind of seeing big names do this oftentimes helps inspire younger people to pass as well. Part of the whole, vote 50 or voting campaign that that's been happening for many years, where celebrities come in and encourage people to vote. Great. Leona, we go to the next one. Petitions online, of course, are a great and easy way for us to be out as well. Oftentimes, you just have to kind of go in, find something you're passionate about, put in your name and email, and you can sign it. There are many places to find these petitions. Change.org is one of my favorites, and one that a website I would encourage all of you to go and look at and see what of these camps stand out to you and things that you find important to be able to sign them as well. Great. Next one. Marches and protests. This is a very obvious one, ways for us to show our support. I know all of your cameras are off, which is totally fine. And we'll have a chance in a moment to kind of talk about ways that you have been advocates as well. And,
I think his internet cut out, so let's wait a second. Hopefully he will come back in the frame.
Sorry about that. A little bit of internet glitch. But social media campaigns, I guess, is where we're at next. Obviously, justice for Breonna Taylor was such a big thing over the summer, and a way that many people, are bringing awareness, through so many things. As you can see on this part 2, this take action slide. It has change.org as one of the ways to sign a petition. That's one of their biggest ones that they've ever had, and a really great way for us to be able to bring awareness. Okay, before we jump in, I'm going to post in the chat a Padlet, and I'm hoping this works. So this Padlet, I'm going to pose a question for all of you. When was the last time you were a social justice warrior, or when was the last time you participated in one of these ways of being an advocate? And Liana, it might be easier if you go back to the slide with all of the different options. But so everyone can see the different ways that we just talked about. So if everyone, if you can click on the link in the chats and share with us, when was the last time you were a social justice warrior? What was the last thing that you did? And after I start seeing some things populated in this Padlet, I'll share my screen so we can see what everyone says. Please feel free to type in your name if you want to share what you did, anything specific. Okay, I see a couple Dons helping Dons, donations and continually through Instagram stories, donating to charities, excellent, attending a Black Lives Matter protest, donating to change.org. It seems like some of you are already familiar with this, which is really great. Excellent. Signed a bunch of petitions for the Black Lives Matter movement. Leon, thank you for sharing. Signed petitions for justice for Breonna Taylor. These are such great things, supporting local businesses, all of these things, there's so much that we can be doing right now, just through COVID and through, such relevancy of the Black Lives Matter movement, that I love to see all of these things that you're doing. Someone did something just 3 days ago for St. Jude. Really, really wonderful to see. So we are going to, in a moment, take a look at a couple other ways or places that advocacy happens. It's nice to know that we're doing it, but we're going to take a look at where it happens, and then after that, we'll have a chance to actually do a little bit of advocacy work. So Liana, if you want to go to share your screen again with the slides, and then you can do the very next slide. Great. So there are many, many places where advocacy happens, but so the top five are, the top five places are obviously the government leaders, federal, state, and local. The local leaders are such an important thing for us to be, especially hyper local, even within the USF community and areas, neighborhoods right around the school. Obviously, San Francisco has a lot of people facing homelessness, and there's a lot of work that can be done. Young people, all of you are some of the biggest leaders in, in these, in this advocacy work. Young people have such passion for helping others, and it's such a great way for all of you and myself to feel empowered to go ahead and do so. And at the schools, obviously you're here in this marketing club, and this week is a week all about social justice and helping the community. We see schools all across the country doing this type of work. Community coalitions, and then state and national advocacy groups as well. Great. Liana, you can go to the next thing. So doing advocacy, we are going to do our part to help combat voter suppression. This is something that we're going to start now, and you will have you'll be able to continue doing this long after this meeting is over, if this is something that you feel passionate about or empowered to do. So I am going to, in a moment, share with you I'm going to put a link to a document in the chat. We are going to, oh my goodness, sorry, just a moment. I can find it. So we at JFCS, especially with the teams, have partnered with Center for Common Ground, which is a nonpartisan group where we have been encouraging people to vote. It doesn't matter which political party one identifies with, just the importance of, of getting people out to vote. So I'm going to post in the chat in just a moment the process to set up for doing some phone banking. It should have everything listed out pretty easily. You'll have the chance to go through, create an account, and start making some phone calls. In the phone calls, it has an entire script laid out for you based off how people answer, yes or no, or maybe. I don't know. They're direct responses for all of them. This is really just encouraging people to be aware that polling places may be hard to get to, and voting by mail is certainly a thing that we can be doing. And if people need help finding their polling place, this is a resource for them as well. So in the chat, I am posting the link. I will also share my screen with it if that will make things a little bit easier. Share screen. Let me just make sure I have. So you'll go to this link, actionnetwork.org /form/reclaim our vote sign up. And this will be to register an account. And then you'll have to check your email because they'll send you a confirmation, and then go to this Center for Common Ground website to be able to start making these phone calls. If you have any questions on the process of doing this, feel free to type it in the chat or to unmute yourself and ask. I've helped many people do this now, and am, certainly able to help all of you if needed. Is this working for all of you? If you can give me like a virtual thumbs up, no need to, turn your camera on, but I just want to make sure that this is something that is working for all of you. Great, I'm seeing thumbs, excellent. Once you have set this up, before we start making calls, I just want to show a little video. So I'll give another 5 minutes or so to set it up. I know it can take a little bit of time, but it's 12:19. I'm going to show a little video. So just be prepared for that. Have any of you made any phone calls to encourage people to vote? Is this something that you are familiar with? I'm sure many of you, this will be your first time being able to vote in a presidential election. I hope you're all registered to vote and are planning on voting, something I definitely feel very strongly about. If you are not 18 yet, you can pre-register to vote. That is certainly something that you're able to do as soon as you turn 16. So if you have siblings or cousins who are 16 and not able to vote yet, I would encourage them to pre-register to vote. It gets them automatically registered for the next election, which, as we know, aren't just every 4 years, but are happening way more often for smaller local elections. All right, just another 2 minutes before I show this quick video. Does anyone need more time? Okay. If no one needs more time, which I'm not seeing any hand emojis or reactions, I'm going to go ahead and show this video. Leon, if you can share the video that's on slide 17. This video just gives a little bit of background of voter suppression.
So, what is voter suppression? Well, the U.S. legal code actually gives us a framework to work with. Title 18, Section 594, if you want to look it up for yourself. It says that voter suppression is any effort, either legal or illegal, by way of laws, administrative rules, or tactics that prevent eligible voters from registering to vote or voting. Today, this can happen in a few key ways. Common examples are voter ID laws, closing polling places in certain neighborhoods, reducing poll hours, or purging voter registrations. There can be reasonable arguments made for some of these practices, but they've been shown to disproportionately impact communities of color and the elderly. That's why the Voting Rights Act of 1965 banned them in most cases. But in 2013, the United States Supreme Court heard the case of Shelby County versus Holder, and in its decision, it rolled back most of the protections which targeted southern states. It was a close decision, 5-4. Chief Justice John Roberts wrote that the law was based on decades-old data and eradicated practices, and that there was no longer such a disparity for communities of color. Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg dissented. She said it was like throwing away your umbrella in a rainstorm because you're not getting wet. Since that Supreme Court decision, 25 states, many in the South, have put in place new voter restrictions like ID requirements and cutbacks in early voting. So the result of all this? We're less than 5 months away from the November election, and there are still a lot of questions about how our votes will be counted. So one of the top questions is how many people are going to be able to vote by mail this November. Some states have voted only by mail for years. President Trump has been claiming this will lead to massive voter fraud, but the evidence from vote by mail states says otherwise.
Okay. This little video gives us a glimpse, and we're going to watch one more that gives a little more tangible examples. But the most common ways of voter suppression, we heard a little bit about it, but a little bit more detail. Barriers to voter registration, lack of early voting for voters who cannot make it to polls on election day, discriminatory voter ID requirements, such as requiring people to have IDs to vote. Voter harassment, poll closures, and voter purges. Poll closures has been a really big one over the last handful of decades. And the voter purges is also a big one. And this year, the biggest one that we've seen is, taking away voting or mail drop off, ballot drop off has been a thing as well. Okay, and then communities particularly susceptible to voter suppression. The Black community, Indigenous peoples, people of color, students, elderly, people with disabilities are, some of the biggest people affected by voter suppression. Next slide, we're going to watch just another quick little video about long voting lines based off poll closures.
Time for my final thought. Now, on Tuesday, hundreds of Texans, mostly Black and Latino, had to spend hours in line waiting just to vote. While being interviewed on the campus of Texas Southern University, one young man offered a reason as to why. They must have been doing this on purpose. And he's right. Let me be very clear. This was targeted, purposeful voter suppression and a preview of the upcoming 2020 election. A report issued by the civil rights organization, the Leadership Conference Education Fund, shows that since 2012, Texas has led the nation in shuttering polling stations, closing 750, the majority in black and brown communities. Most of these happened after a 2013 ruling by the Supreme Court removed a key element of the Voting Rights Act that southern states had to get pre-approval from the federal government before they could make changes to their voting processes or pass new voting laws. The Voting Rights Act of 1965 was signed into law by Lyndon Johnson to secure the voting rights of citizens across the country, but was particularly focused on the South, where the black community had their voting rights disenfranchised by states enacting Jim Crow laws. These laws saw the rise of voter suppression tactics take hold: literary tests, poll taxes, moral character tests, anything they could think of to stop people from exercising their right as citizens. In the ruling that gutted the protections afforded by the VRA, Chief Justice John Roberts wrote that while there was compelling evidence justifying the pre-clearance remedy and the coverage formula in 1965, there was no longer such a disparity. And just like that, suppression began again. Except this time, it's not if you can read a chapter out of a book or count the number of beans in a jar just by looking. No, you remove voting stations, silently asking citizens, do you have hours to spend in line? Can you afford to? Do you have the patience? Like the patience shown by Hervis Rogers, who, calling it his duty, waited over 6 hours just to vote in this country, making him one of the last to exercise his right. That's 6 hours. That is unacceptable, and we should all be disgusted. But there is good news. We've had a state go through the primary process right at the seat of power in the South, the state of Virginia. Not only did this not happen there, extra steps were taken to provide additional security and transparency in the voting process. And for that, I say well done to the Commonwealth. Doing your part to assure the voice of the people is heard is truly the most DMV thing. We're going to continue this conversation online.
All right. I'm curious if anyone has any reactions to this video. If you want to unmute yourself, show yourself on your screen, or even just type into the chat any reactions to hearing this video, even about, you know, a man waiting 6 hours in line to be able to vote, to you know, to anything, any reactions to this video. Catherine asked, why did he have to wait so long to vote? You know, they talked about the polling places closing. There is one county in South Carolina, a county the size of all of Oakland, you know, as populated as all of Oakland, where there were only 2 places for people to vote. You know, with so many people and so few voting places, the lines just stack up. It's hard to be able to vote. You know, one thing that they were saying about, you know, if you are having to wait 6 hours in line to vote, you are not able to work. And that right there is privilege. You know, some people are able to take the day off to be able to wait in line that long to vote, to exercise their right to vote. But not everyone is able to. That is why he had to wait so long, is because those counties, those areas were having so few voting places for per capita, you know, for the amount of people who were there. Great. Okay, so I'm going to give you all about 10 minutes now to make some of those calls, to go back to you know, that sheet that I shared with you earlier. Take some time, feel it out, make some phone calls. You know, for the state of Arizona that you chose, there are different age demographics. If you feel more comfortable talking to someone younger, I believe there was an 8 to or 18 to 24 you can choose. If you feel more comfortable talking to older folks, there was a 65 plus. Take some time, make some phone calls, feel it out. We'll come back together and just have a little bit of a discussion at the end. So at 12:37, we'll all come back together. I encourage you to actually turn your cameras on because I'd love to be able to hear from you how this goes. And the best way to do that is by seeing you and not necessarily your little avatar picture. So feel free to keep your cameras off and mics off now, but at 12:38, we'll come back together with our cameras on. Again, if you have any questions or need any help, feel free to chat me.
Jordan, we might want to go ahead and finish up that activity if you don't mind.
Absolutely, yeah. I have had a couple people saying that you have class starting soon. Alyssa and Melissa, thank you for being here. I see we really have dropped off a lot, which is totally fine. If you are still here, Amanda, I get it too. If you're still here, I would love for you to just like turn your camera on. If you had a chance to make a phone call, share with us how that went. Was the person receptive? Would love to kind of hear a little bit about that experience for you. How did it make you feel making a phone call? Okay.
I can talk really quickly. I made a phone call and
thanks,
I was like kind of grumpy. Like I know I've made them in the past and usually they're like, oh, like they usually don't answer the phone, which is fine with me because I'd rather leave a voicemail. But usually if not, they're like, yes, I'm signed up to vote, or like, no, but I don't have time to listen right now. So just like, oh, thank you for your time.